You know the feeling, right? You send an email to IT support. You wait, you send another one. A week goes by, and a totally different person replies asking the exact same questions you already answered. It can feel like you're just shouting into the void. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on that whole process. We're going to look at the hidden systems that are designed to turn that chaos into real, actual control, so you can understand what's really happening on the other side of that support ticket.
Yeah, it can seem like a mountain of bureaucracy, for sure. But believe it or not, all those forms, all those tickets and procedures, they're actually the secret weapon against that very confusion and frustration we were just talking about. They're what makes sure your problem doesn't just disappear. And it all starts with a clear set of rules that everybody agrees on.
All right, so how do you even start to tame that kind of chaos? Well, you begin with a really solid foundation. And in the world of IT support, that foundation is built on a clear set of rules that everyone, both you, the user, and the technicians, can actually rely on. Okay, this slide breaks it down perfectly. You have two fundamental types of rules. First, there's a policy. Think of this as the big picture goal. It's the what and the why. For example, all employees must use secure passwords. Makes sense, right? But how do you actually do that? That's where the standard operating procedure, or SOP, comes in. The SOP is the how. It's the detailed, step-by-step playbook for a specific task, like the exact instructions for resetting a password.
And this visualizes how it all connects. Let's stick with our password example. The policy is the big idea. Use secure passwords. The process is the general flow, like maybe requiring password resets every 90 days. And then the procedure is the nitty-gritty, step-by-step guide the IT tech follows to help you do it. See? It's like a funnel, taking a big goal and turning it into a consistent, repeatable action. So we've got the rules. But how do we know if anyone's actually following them? That's where the service level agreement, or SLA, comes into play. You can think of it as a promise, or even a contract, that holds the IT department accountable. It sets crystal clear, measurable expectations for everything, from how fast they'll get back to you to how much system uptime they absolutely have to guarantee. And speaking of guarantees, let's talk about those nines. I mean, it seems like such a tiny difference, right? Just one extra nine after the decimal point. But in the real world, what do you think that actually translates to in terms of downtime? Any guesses? Okay, so an SLA that promises 99.9%, or 3 nines of uptime, allows for up to 8.7 hours of downtime every year. That's more than a full business day where critical systems could just be gone. That's a huge amount of potential disruption. Now look at this. Just by adding one more 9 to get to 99.99% uptime, the acceptable downtime absolutely plummets to just 52 minutes for the entire year. That one tiny decimal point makes a world of difference, and it's exactly why these SLAs are so incredibly specific.
Okay, so we've got the rules, we've got the promises. But how do you actually manage all this stuff in real time? You need an engine. And in IT, that engine is the ticketing system. This is the command center where every single request, every issue, and every problem is tracked and managed. This diagram gives us a great bird's eye view. It all kicks off when a customer reports an issue. A ticket gets created, it's assigned to an agent, and then the team gets to work. They figure out the root cause, they collaborate on a fix, and once it's resolved and you confirm everything's working, the incident is closed. No more emails lost in the void. So let's zoom in and follow the life of your ticket. The second you contact support, a ticket is born. It's automatically routed to the right team. That agent then categorizes it based on how important it is, and we'll get to that in a sec. From there, they either fix it on the spot, or if it's a real head scratcher, they escalate it up the chain to a specialist. It's a clear, logical workflow designed to get your problem in front of the right person fast. So why is this so much better than just email? Because it creates a single central record for everything. All the details, all the notes from the text, who worked on it, what the final fix was, it is all in one place. And that means if your original technician goes on vacation, the next person can just pick it up right where they left off without ever having to ask you the same questions all over again. Okay, so we have our command center, but you have to imagine on any given day, that command center is facing a total tsunami of incoming tickets. So how does the support team manage that flood without getting completely overwhelmed? Well, they use the logic of prioritization and escalation. Just think about it. You've got a forgotten password, a printer that's on the fritz, and the entire company server just went down. They can't all be treated equally, right? So how does an IT technician objectively decide which fire to put out first?
Well, it really comes down to two key questions. First, what's the severity? In other words, what's the actual business impact here? Is this a minor inconvenience for one person, or is it a critical failure for the entire company? And second, what's the urgency? How fast does this thing need to be fixed before it gets even worse? And it all comes together in this really simple but incredibly powerful formula. You combine the severity of the problem with its urgency, and that gives you its true priority. This takes all the guesswork and emotion out of the decision and creates an objective, logical to-do list. This prioritization matrix shows exactly how that works. An issue that has super high impact and super high urgency, you see it up there in the top right corner, that becomes priority number 1, no questions asked. Something with low impact and low urgency, that can probably wait until later.
And here is the perfect real-world example. The entire payroll system is down, and payday is in 2 days. The impact, the severity, is absolutely critical. People won't get paid. The urgency is incredibly high. It has to be fixed now. That ticket immediately shoots to the very top of the list.
But what happens if that top priority ticket stumps the first person who looks at it? That's where the escalation ladder comes in. The journey usually starts at tier 0, which is actually you trying to solve it yourself with a help article. If that doesn't work, it goes to tier 1, the frontline help desk. Still stuck? It climbs up to tier 2, the senior technicians. And for the really nasty problems, it goes all the way to the top. Tier 3, the expert engineers, who have the keys to the kingdom. You know, we've talked a ton about systems and rules and logic, but the best system in the world is useless without the right people running it. So the final and maybe the most important piece of this whole puzzle is the human element. I love this idea that good documentation is the collective memory of the IT department. It's the team's shared brain. And for that brain to work, it has to follow the 5 C's. It's got to be clear enough for anyone to understand, concise enough to be useful in a crisis, and accessible to the whole team. This is how they learn from past problems so they can solve future ones even faster. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to communication. A great technician isn't just good with computers, they're good with people. Being respectful, clear, and concise, that's what builds trust and de-escalates a really frustrating situation. It's the skill that turns a technical fix into a genuinely positive experience. So these systems of policies, ticketing, and prioritization, they're incredibly powerful for bringing order to the beautiful chaos of IT. Which leads me to one last question for you to think about. If this framework is so good at managing technical problems, what other parts of a business, from customer service to HR to project management, could it help organize too? Thanks for joining me.